I've been talking for a while, and now I decided to turn on the camera. Dave Burns here at Copper Gardens in California, looking at a piece that's going to go to the other side of the country to a lovely home for a delightful customer who's just been a joy to work with. What you're seeing here is a cluster of bamboo. Where's my finger? Cluster of bamboo. I think we have 6 pieces, 7 with the filler. What do I mean by the filler? This is going to fill a soaking tub, hot tub in some terms, already purchased at the home, copper, with about a 4-inch rim around it, or 4-inch wide body, which will come through here at about, where's my hand? At about, here we go, about this elevation. So this piece will be down inside of the tub, so we don't have any splash problems. But the point being that the hot water will, or whatever temperature we want, will enter through the base. I'm putting on pipe fittings down here that will be connected to hoses, go over and into the wall and up into, not this wall, the wall of the home, behind a door which will open and reveal the valves that will turn the water on and off. That door will be covered with another bit of bamboo work that I did a couple of weeks ago and sent back to her with a delightful reception, I'm happy to say. So now we're at a point where there's a lot to be said and talked about, and I promised her a weekly update, and I've been very slow in this progress, in my progress on the system, on the, excuse me, on the development of this plan, because she's given me a lot of time, and I actually needed it for health and physical reasons that aren't worth talking about, but I really, really was thankful for it this time of this year. That filler is going to drop into the tub, as I've said, and over here on the wall where the valves are, we have a similar bamboo-looking piece. Did I say that already? I don't know. I've run this video 3 times already, and I've forgotten. And all the first 3 were wrong. I had to fix them. So I may be repeating myself. So here's the point of all of this. I want her to see where we are. We're very close. I have a lot of leaves on it now. You can see the bamboo-y looking leaf. Here's a finger and a leaf. They're all over. I made almost 100. And then that looked a little too cluttered. Here you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, oops, where'd I go? 14, 15. When you calculate that on up, 100 was going to kind of overkill it. So we pulled it back to, I don't know, 75 or 80. It doesn't really matter. I took it to a point where I was very comfortable with it. Now, what's it doing here? Sitting beside my main work table. This is my 4x8 half-inch thick steel table on which I built over 1,000 pieces in the last 30 years. And this piece has some peculiarities that I'm really getting frustrated about now. And let me tell my huge audience, all 2 or 3 of you, what we're going to run up against. This is built to go from floor to ceiling, and that's a problem. Because notice the width at the top is, a couple of feet. And at the bottom, now this square steel plate is just a temporary holder. It allows me some stability when I need to stand it alone. And the little ring that you see will be the primary stabilizer that has bolts drilled through it that go into the steel, which I'm going to suggest that we use at the site. We bolt into the floor. I want some stability in this thing, but stability is the big word here. When I take everything away from it, I have this silly little strap here, which is no longer needed, but it was an extra thing, and then my complexity of bolted on things here obviously cannot go. Well, they may go to Pennsylvania, but they won't look good. They've got to come off. Right now, those different things are holding us all together. I had an interesting lesson about a month ago. It fell over on me tipped over in the shop. It wasn't a massive calamity, but it was not a small issue either. I had to straighten it. In fact, you'll see on the far right over there, that piece still has a little bit of excess of a bend. That's okay. Bamboo can do that. But I want to straighten it up a little bit more. Now, the point of all this is, once it's in place, it will be locked down at the floor. We talked about that. And now I have these little gizmos. That's a very technical term. I have 1 inch, 3/4 inch, and 1/2 inch pieces going up to the ceiling. These will wrap around the various poles, and then these different other gizmos will connect to this, screw through here, and then bend according to the site, the situation, or the angle that is needed, and be screwed to the ceiling. This is the part I like least about the process and the project, but I ran into such a strange bit of complexities here that I feel it is mandatory to do it. I want it absolutely stable. I don't want it to bend, break, to tip over, and we're going to do those up at the top. Now, when you walk into any room, the last place people tend to look is up at the ceiling, unless you came there to buy chandeliers or something. So I'm hoping that these will diminish considerably in their impact, but they're going to be there, and I haven't come up with anything better yet that makes me comfortable with keeping this thing stable and steady. Now, let me think of several other things I wanted to tell her about, my client. Note that I've left the space needed in here to get the corner, or I should say the edge, shouldn't I, of your round tub to fit into. This introduces a set of complexities that I haven't completely solved yet. So we've got to work on it, and anything you have to say will be much appreciated. I'm going to need some help here, because if this thing were, and by the way, you are going to, well, I started to say you are going to do the finish cutting, you or your installer person, and that may not be entirely true, because we need to have the tops cut. This is over 8 feet now, all the way, each one of these are over 8 feet. They've got to be cut back to allow it to fit in the room. Well, if it fits perfectly, and that's a couple of feet across, and this is about a little over 10, almost, let's say it's a foot across at the base. How do you get it in the room and tip it up without bumping into everything? The floor and the ceiling are going to argue with you. Plus, you've got to argue with the tub and get this piece to fit over into it to become the filler. Sounds simple, except that if we build this perfectly 8 feet, or whatever your ceiling height is, I'll have you measure it precisely, then we have a unique problem. It won't tip up into place because of the width or the breadth of those pieces at the top. It will just get jammed all cuckoo. That's another technical term. I use them all the time here. So with that cuckoo probability, I've been thinking hard about what to do. Now, I realize too, that steel plate, I was thinking of using that for shipping. Now I'm thinking not. It's heavy, very, very heavy. And a sheet of plywood would do the same thing. And I could build a crate, that plate of steel, of plywood, and one up at the top of plywood. Then I can sheathe it in more plywood, and we'll have a really good crate. And I will fill it with an amazing amount of plastic thingies, because I don't want this thing to move. The reason things get hurt in transit is because they move. My things don't move in the process of going from here to wherever they're going. We've gone to hundreds of shows with my work, and boy, if it moves, it gets hurt. I lock it down solid. Okay, let's get back to the point. Now, what I'm thinking is that we might need to engineer another thing, another gizzy. At the top, think about this while I tell you, and then think about it after you watch the video. What if we put a plate, a plywood plate on top. But no, what if we did something else at the top? And I'm thinking of something that may have lighting in it. It may have something in it that gives us an excuse to lower that sheet of plywood a couple of inches off the ceiling. Enough to give us the ability to tilt it into place once it's on site. Now, what do you do with that gap? Okay, now it's sitting there and there's a gap between that plywood and the ceiling. That's ugly. And we're not building this for ugly, we're building this for beauty. So, I've been stressing my brain and I haven't come up with a final answer yet, but I would like to figure out what will the trick be to tilt this thing up into place and at the top have a thing that either helps us have some lighting, that gives us an excuse for doing something crazy with plastic and LEDs or some other lighting. It gives us an excuse for building a circular thing. We've got a round tub, so something else that's round seems okay. So let's put a round thing up there that allows us to tip it into place. Now, how do we hide it? How do we make that round thing work with the rest of the room and the bamboo and the look that we're after? I just asked you a question for which I do not yet have an answer. I can think of a gazillion things, that's another one of my technical terms, all of which involve more work at both ends, your end and my end. And that's okay, I'll do the work. And I gave you a price and oh my God, you're still okay with that $1 million price, right? Oh, Lordy, Lordy. This got so far out of control that I don't even care anymore. I'm not trying to make money, I'm trying to make beauty. And I want a really satisfied client with this. So, help me think about what else we could do. That's not it. That's an ugly little, intended to be covered by your floor material. I will now tell the public what you're doing in your floor, because I love it. This lady is going to have white rock, white cobblestones covering this portion of the floor. Yes, I said rocks. Angular, crazy, you don't want to walk on these rocks. White, I'm thinking, but I don't, that's color exactly is up to her. But can you imagine that? This thing is sitting out in the middle of some rocks with some bamboo growing up out of the rocks. Ah! Excuse me. But I love it so much. Now, how do we get into the tub then with rocks we can't walk on? Well, she's already factored in stepping stone rocks of a similar color that allow you to, with about 2 steps, to go boop, boop, into the tub and you're there. Now you've already had the water running and things, and I don't know what the steps might be or where the valves will be in relation. That will be up to the final installation crew, but they have a lot of flexibility there. So I'm showing you this same picture for way too long while I keep talking, but let's think about that. How many inches of space do I need? I'm going to suggest it's at least 2. Maybe it's 2.5. What if it's 3? I don't know. But what if it's 3 and we decorate it with what? I don't know, copper maybe. I don't know, round copper, tub's round, it's copper. What can we do up there? Or maybe I build a round, here's a thought, just now. A wafer, a 3-inch, 2.5-inch, 3-inch wafer of copper. And it has to come off while this is being tilted into place. And in that moment, or for that period of time, we've got to retain these really ugly little gizmos here that hold everything together. By the way, I don't want to put a lot of cross bracing. Now we gained some, by the way, as I went up with this filler. You can see where I attached it here. There's one little cross tube here that'll transfer water. There's another cross tube up there, which thankfully you don't see. And this one you don't see much, as I'm thinking of this as the approach angle to the room. And, oh, I hope that light's not killing us. I didn't want to see those, but I had to have space enough to get a satisfactory joint brazed in completely and no leaks. Ha! Haven't tested it yet, but I think I have no leaks. Let's get in here tight. Does it? Oh, it doesn't zoom that tight. I'm sorry. All right. Never mind. Not critical. Now, the color, as everybody should understand, this will change radically. This will be a beautiful bronzy tone copper. The leaves will be a greenish tone, like a leaf, and the color will be phenomenal, I believe. In fact, the color tone is pretty close to these little gizzies right here, which are not, well, here we go. Yeah, this is a pretty good color indicator here. A little bit of a sheen, a little bit of dark, and then the green leaves. These are a little darker for now, and that may change, or not. That may be it. All right, so the bigger question now is, how do we get it in the room? How do we tilt it up? And what do we do up here? My last thought that I just came up with is starting to make sense to me. Round copper, matching the round tub, color toned, maybe darker, a little darker, so it diminishes slightly in our view. That might be the answer. That might be it. Okay, now, this is longer than, what have I got here? Oh my God, 16 minutes? I never talked that long. Ha, just ask my wife. I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna leave you with that. We'll put this up online for everybody to view, but mainly for my delightful client. And then we'll trade notes and talk until we arrive at a solution. We will find one. I know that we will. I never know where we're headed. And then we get somewhere, and it's almost always a great result. Okay, thanks y'all for watching. I hope this gets us part of the way where we need to go. By the way, we're really, I should say this, in spite of how it looks with the color, we're really quite far along on the project. Figuring out this last bit, and then doing the cleaning and coloring and water infill stuff, and testing for leaks, making sure there are none. Oh my God, that would be incredibly bad. But I've got another week here of my part-time work. My part-time work is mainly due to my stupid foot. 16 years of pain, which my doctor has now told me is probably a phantom pain, which if I didn't have a leg, my foot would still hurt. I hope she's wrong, but she's been right for years and years now, and I love my lady doctor. She is just fantastic. Anybody want to know who she is? If you're anywhere near middle of California, that's all right. She's concierge, and she's filled up now, but man, is she good. Okay, enough of my blather. Thanks for watching. Talk to you all another time. Take care.